Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
Hi, welcome to the latest issue of Think Global China edition. I'm David Thomas, and with me today we have my friends Monica Tu and Vanessa Xing. Welcome.
It's nice to be here.
And today we're going to talk about how to understand and sell to China's ultra-rich consumers, a very important topic for small business looking to participate in the China market. We're going to cover a number of things. We're going to talk about China's hierarchical society. We're going to look at the China's ultra-rich and who are they. We're going to look at what they want. And look at some of the big mistakes you can make when dealing with ultra-rich customers. We're going to make sure that you're ready to deal with these people. And finally, we're going to come up with some specific strategies that you can adopt on how to treat and deal with ultra-high-rich customers from China. So let's get started. Now, when we're trying to understand ultra-rich Chinese customers, investors, business people, people looking to do things around the world, I think we need to understand that China is quite a hierarchical society. It's hierarchical in a social sense, and it's also hierarchical in a financial sense. So maybe, Vanessa, you could start by talking about China's hierarchical culture in a social sense.
I always think that China is in the hierarchy system, and it's not now, it's not 20 years development. It was 5,000 years of history of China, and since the first empire of China, and it's been always in the hierarchy system. Even now, after the Cultural Revolution, we think China is a bit more equality, but in the social sense and the financial sense, I still, from my personal view, it's in the hierarchy system. For example, in the political system, and there's a hierarchy system, and where you find it's difficult to get access to the important politicians or raise your voices as a very normal person. Yeah, and in the families, and even in the rich families, it's more obvious. There's a hierarchy system where you can see the chairman is the father of the family, or the dominant person of the family, and then everyone else in the family would listen to the head of the family. And in schools and in the social, most of the social environments, and you would find hierarchy systems everywhere.
Yeah, good. Okay, well that's the social system. Now what about the financial system? How does the hierarchy work in a financial sense, Monica?
I'm dealing, like you know, with a lot of people with lots of money. So we call that new rich Chinese. So obviously there's a hierarchy. So in China we have probably different different type of hierarchy system. So we have really low income, population, a middle wealthy Chinese, and the ultra wealthy, high net worth Chinese. Yeah, there is a hierarchy system. And if you ask me about, so which people I'm dealing with at the moment, and I think it's how high net worth Chinese, so we're working at the moment. Yeah, there is a hierarchy in terms of financial system.
So when we're talking about ultra-rich Chinese customers, consumers, how would we define them? In fact, we were in Guangzhou just recently, Vanessa and I. How did one of those major banks define ultra-high net worth individuals in China?
They call them a VIP. And for the ultra high net worth people, and they are VIPs of a private banking sector. So private banking are for the high net worth individuals who receive higher services, and also they are classified as VIP because any time of the year they have a certain amount of the money in the bank. Take an example of the people we met last week in Guangzhou, and those are ultra high net worth people, VIP of a private banking department in the bank, in one of the major 4 banks. And they are classified as VIP because they have a 50 million yuan, which is equivalent of Australian dollars, $10 million any time of the year in the bank.
10 million. So that's how they categorize ultra-rich people, is $10 million in the bank,
Yeah.
ready to invest.
Yes, and it's not assets, it's the cash in the
Cash.
bank.
Yes. What do you think, Monica? How do you define an ultra-rich Chinese person?
Okay, so actually I did have some statistics about who is high net worth Chinese and who are ultra high net worth Chinese I'm working with at the moment. So in China, it's 63 million high net worth Chinese. So if it's a high net worth Chinese, they're talking about probably 1 million cash in the bank, so
US.
US,
Yeah.
yes. So for me, ultra wealthy Chinese is talking about 30 million plus. So
US.
again, I agree with you that they have, the special banking service for them, but these people might just based in China. So people, because we are like in Australia at the moment, so the people who come here, so I'm in a real estate business. So the people I'm dealing with, ultra net worth more than $30 million.
$30 million
Yes.
US dollars, 30 million available to invest.
Absolutely.
That's
yes.
a lot. Cash, not debt. This is cash.
It is a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the money they can put aside and they can afford to buy properties
Yeah.
in Australia.
Yeah, or anywhere in the world, of course.
Or anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, so we're talking about people with $30 million of cash available to investment. Now, what do they look like, these people? Like, are they all very smartly dressed, and do they look expensive, or how do you spot a rich Chinese person?
They look pretty just like me and Vanessa, a normal Chinese, and dressed very casually, clean, So we can't normally. This is something probably we can talk a little bit more on the later stage. So they just dress very normal. So they can come to an open house with the shorts and sneakers. You cannot judge people by a book. So that's because these people are highly intelligent. So do we, right? So once they come to my open house or to have a conversation, so they're very intelligent. They know exactly what they want. And again, most of my high net worth or ultra net worth Chinese, they come by the referral. So they probably one of their friends has already bought a house from me,
Right.
have already done business with us.
Yes.
So referral is so important.
Yes.
Like back in China, so we work with like a private banking sections, like immigration agencies or all the financial institutions. These are our business partners.
Yes.
So before they even come to this country, they're already qualified. So we know they have this much of money, and they maybe they come $20 million. It's still high. Net
Yeah.
worth. So we'll be serving this kind of people as well.
I know it's hard to generalize, but how old are they?
So from the demographic, the people with this kind of money normally from 45 to about 60.
Right.
So a lot of new rich Chinese at the moment, there's probably last 10 years and 15 years, or maybe even last 5 years, like
Yeah.
you said, David. And they are highly educated. Generate money from hard working, and that's why the dress doesn't really matter sometimes. But this is the age group 45 to about 60.
Right. Yeah. What about the younger groups? Are they as wealthy or becoming wealthy?
Yeah, the younger groups that age under 45, we call them new rich second generation. Maybe
Yeah.
their parents have already generated some wealth for them, so they don't they build their wealth laying the bricks and start from the bottom. So the parents have a little bit high expectation, maybe from investment and a little bit different from the last generation. So these people is second rich generation, we call them. But again, because of the internet e-commerce boom, so we make some people probably about 30 to 35, 35, 40, so they have lots of money as well, but not as wealthy as the people who come from last 10 or 15 years.
Yes, we know some of these younger ones, don't we, Vanessa?
Yes, and also we read the news about JD, the chairman of JD.com recently bought waterfront apartment in Circular Quay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is represents one of the young generation riches acquired their assets or their riches, their wealth from the technology booming.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that 5 years ago, half of the people who are wealthy today weren't wealthy. So much of this wealth has been created very recently. So it's all quite new to them to have all this money.
Yeah, it's very new, and just come back to the last question: how these people look like. So they look completely different from the little bit older generation. Like they're much more funky. They're very chic, and they drive beautiful cars. So you probably can tell straight away they're very wealthy. So they come with a Lamborghini, at our open houses. So obviously, it's very different from their parents' generation. Parents probably driven by humble. Whatever car that is, right? So they don't really care what car they're in, what dress they dress, but they're really, really wealthy. But for the younger generation, they're very smart. They look really smart.
Yeah. And where do they live? Where do they come from? Which parts of China do the ultra-rich people live?
So just from probably last, based on my clientele basis. I think I work a lot with people from the coast city. So the three major cities, before I come to have this, interview with you, they're from Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. So we found they're mostly from this country, but these cities. But slowly, we actually have a lot of new rich, Chinese that come from inner. Cities like
second tier,
Shanxi, because of the minings,
the coal mines,
mines, and they come from these other cities as well. But major city will be Shanghai, Beijing, and Shenzhen.
Yeah, what we call the first-tier cities.
Yeah, it's more from the cities where they have most of the contacts with overseas and requires most of the information of the overseas, and also have an interest in living overseas because they traveled quite a lot. They probably travel around the world and decide where they want to live.
Yeah, we find most of them are in the south, don't we? Most of the ultra-rich Chinese we deal with are mainly from Guangdong province, because that was the first part of China to open up. So that's probably had the longest history of doing business overseas. But I agree, it's changing, and now.
Also sorry. So even in Shenzhen is a new city. So a lot of people actually they're not from city themselves. They come from city to Australia or to other part of the world. But again, originally they might come from another city like Sichuan or maybe Shandong or other cities. Once they get really wealthy in that city, and they would like to move along the coast city because it's a little bit closer to outside of the world, outside of China.
Yeah. So just to finish up this look at who they are, how do they make decisions? Do they organize themselves in groups or families, or how does decision making take place with these ultra-rich people?
I think that this is a really interesting question, actually. So, decision maker, and because I'm in real estate, right? So I'm just talking for my industry. Yeah. So the decision makers normally is dominated by the male, by a father. And now recently there's some changes. I think the children actually are the major facts to make a decision. So because they buy the properties or they come to overseas.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Brin, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit Brin.ai or search the App Store today.